With the beginning of the NBA season coming closer and closer, many of the competitive teams are the same as last year. But with the recent trade of John Wall for Russell Westbrook, as well as the draft selection of Deni Avdija, many people are starting to look at the Wizards as competitive. Now, while the combination of Beal and Westbrook could be deadly, and getting rid of Wall was important, I think the long-term impact of keeping Beal and getting Westbrook will be detrimental to the team. Here's why. For quite a while now, the Wizards have been a fringe playoff team, often finishing right around the middle of the East and never being very competitive. While they were able to secure the 4th seed in 2017, that's the highest seed they've ever had since 1979. Over the last 5 to 10 years, we've seen a good amount of teams tank to build up young teams from the ground up. And while usually teams don't stick with that team, the Sixers, Celtics, and Nuggets have all built competitive teams from at least temporarily not trying to compete. And that's what I think the problem is with the Wizards and a few other teams in the East like the Magic. The team that they built around John Wall has proven not to be competitive. And while adding Westbrook will improve them slightly, they don't have the depth to compete with the rest of the league. The Wizards' unwillingness to start over is detrimental. I think trading John Wall was inevitable, but I would have traded him for picks or young assets rather than Russell Westbrook, who will lose his athleticism in just a few years and not be nearly as good after that. The team has put themselves in a position of just trying to make the playoffs to stay relevant, when actually teams like that are usually the least relevant. A fan of a team that is tanking will have more to look forward to, knowing that they could possibly contend in the future. For some reason, many NBA fans seem to think that trading assets for stars is always a good move, especially this offseason with both the Wizards and Nets. It's surprising that this idea seems to have emerged after the Clippers gave up their future for Paul George and didn't even make it past the second round. For both contenders and fringe playoff teams, adding star power won't fix your problems, and it'll often create more than it solves. The Clippers now have 2 superstars in their prime, but no assets to be prepared for when they leave their primes. The false idea of needing more stars to compete, especially a 3rd star, is completely false. The Lakers just won a championship with only 2 stars. In 2020, people are very impatient and want quick rewards rather than thought-out long-term ones. What I felt as a Nuggets fan, going from having tickets to a Game 7 in 2013 that never happened, to being able to see them compete again years later, is a much better feeling than waiting a year where they miss the playoffs and then they trade for a star and get the 6th seed, but set themselves up for failure in the future. A team stuck in mediocrity should try to do a real rebuild rather than a cheap one like many teams have been doing. The Thunder are an example of a team that's starting to rebuild the right way. They got rid of all their best players except SGA, who is still very young, and now they have a lot of money for free agency as well as an insane amount of picks. Even within rebuilding, most teams end up jumping the ship to win sooner, like the Celtics and Sixers, and while most of the time that is better than what the Wizards are doing, fully committing to building your team and developing your own talent is often the most rewarding. This is not meant to be a diss to the Wizards or any Wizards fan, but as a fan of an NBA team, it's good to know what's right. Many teams have made the same mistake as the Wizards in recent history, and the purpose of this is to point out the glaring flaws with refusing to rebuild or sacrificing your future for a star. Do you think the Wizards made the right call in getting Westbrook, or should they have done something else? Let me know in the comments. As always, if you like this video, leave a like. If you like this kind of content, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.